Hey everybody and welcome back. I am Jay. Um so today we are continuing the what is it? Tiny houses across the world. So yeah. So today we're building in Del Sol Valley. This is the world that came with Get Famous. It's based off of Los Angeles if you don't know. Um So yeah, building a nice little tiny house here. So this is the house that, well, the lot that had Vanessa Jung living here, and I demolished the house. I didn't demolish the terrain paint, and I just didn't really like think about it at the time. But looking back, I kind of like just went off of what they kind of had because it wasn't that bad. Um, I do use a lot of the Buy Debug catalog. There's no CC in this build at all, so feel free to download that from the galleries. I want to have a healthy mix of both CC and non-CC. So I was realizing it was going to take me a minute to find what I wanted in the gallery, so I kind of cut that out a little bit. But all it is a car. That fencing that you can see in the world, that like green fencing that's right next to it, and then there's some like build objects that you can see in the back, like the electrical box and things like that. So I just kind of went with this mid-century modern style, pretty basic. And even though this is technically a tiny, well, a small home that came with tiny living, it is the right at the gap of the 100 tile mark. So this is the largest tiny home that you can have, which isn't bad. It's still classified as a tiny home. I really wanted to make it like fit in with the surrounding world, the surrounding neighborhood. And so just having like a really tiny, like really modern or weird building wouldn't necessarily fit. So I wanted to fit in with this. And the plan was originally to have a garage in this, but that was just eating up unnecessary tiles. And I don't really feel like cheating it, so I just added a carport instead. So here you can see I did the roof trick and then extended the eave and put some columns in for the carport. And then it does have quite an extensive front yard, which is technically this. It doesn't meet up to the road below, but it doesn't really matter. Sometimes I've used like cheats to put some of those like the little what's it called, those little stone pieces that came with Get Together. I've used those and kind of like adjoined it to the road, but I didn't really think it mattered that much. I kind of did this modern like pathway thing, and a lot of it can be grass and just, I don't know, the surrounding world has a lot of just like it's either concrete or just dead grass or things like that. So I kind of wanted to go in with that vibe, but make it a little bit nicer. So here I'm working on the main chimney element of the front. It's a pretty simple like structure. There's not that much to it. I kind of did a blend of the floor to ceiling windows that came with base game, and then the kind of, I think it's like 3/1 pane windows that came with Get Famous. I utilized a lot of that in this pack. I didn't necessarily, it's 2/1, but I didn't necessarily restrict myself with any kind of build objects or packs. I don't think that there's quite a lot, but I think if you have Tiny Living and Get Famous, for the most part, you'll be okay. I know that stone texture and different things like these corbels that I'm adding here are Get Together, and that stone texture in the front, that was the bowling stuff pack, which by the way was the only reason I bought that pack. I probably have never went bowling. I only bought that whole stuff pack for a wallpaper texture. So that says something about me. But anyways, I kind of did the terrain manipulation a little bit in the front to elevate this kind of elevate the front area to make it look like it's kind of like a patio kind of thing. And then the back kind of goes down, and then I sink it in even further to have a pool area. So you'll see that here momentarily. I do also cut out the landscaping just because it is a bigger lot, and it kind of took me a minute. I think landscaping gets kind of repetitive, but I did kind of want to fit in 2 bedrooms. I didn't necessarily furnish this as 2 bedrooms though. I kind of did the 1 bedroom as an office space, because I was kind of furnishing this with Vanessa Jong, who is the pre-made sim that's in this lot when you first load up the game. I kept her in this. She's in the video that you guys just seen. And I kind of kept that as I didn't keep it, but I had it as like a study area, and then the bedroom off of that. And so I don't think I've ever used this yellow tile that I'm putting in the kitchen, but it kind of went with this like older theme. It's not terribly mid-century and dated. There are like modern elements to it, or contemporary elements to it, but it's also not just mid-century. So it's not just that like 50s theme, 50s 60s. It kind of does have like some 70s elements. Those tiles, it kind of looks like a linoleum to me, but that kind of reads 70s, so it's just a little higgledy-piggledy, I guess. So yeah, I didn't realize it, but I did include quite a bit of doors going into the exterior from this build, which probably isn't the best idea with a tiny house because, you're trying to conserve space and all that, but, oh well, I thought it worked. I do make changes to the structure of this just because I did want to fit in that dining table, and so to kind of cut out some things, I bumped out that area, as you can see, to fit the dining table, and we still fit under our 100 tile placement. Now there are a couple tiles that aren't necessary, like there are tiles in the fireplace, and then there's that exterior little 2 tile area that you can see that goes from the back door. But I don't really care that much. I just wanted the classification of being a tiny house. So, yeah. I did really like using that green fencing from the debug catalog. I think it blended in with the rest of the world really nicely. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. So I did utilize this base game fencing, and then also another fencing that I don't know if it's base game or not. It's kind of like it's base game. Okay. This kind of mid-century-ish, but not kind of tall. I don't even know what they're called. But I used some of those, and then I also used some of the ones in the backyard eventually that came with Get Famous that are more mid-century style. Just to kind of add a little bit of something to the house. So, yeah. Really happy with how this one turned out. This is up on the gallery, by the way. I do have listed down below my gallery ID, as well as links to my Instagram and Tumblr, which are newly made, so there's probably not much there. But I am under ThornSim06 on the gallery. I am working on trying to change that, just because it doesn't really fit. It's not very on brand, so trying to fix that. So yeah, the furnishing didn't really take me all that long, even though it is probably a little bit more, it's a little bit more detailed than I would typically do a tiny house, just because, it's not that tiny, and it's not like a modern, or it's not a contemporary, like, minimalist style, so I kind of wanted to go with a little bit of that kind of theme. So, yeah, I did, because it is a full 2x2 bathroom, and there are a couple other things that I think I left the footage in of me, like, kind of playtesting it, because I did do this in live mode, well, not in live mode, but from the family, and I had her kind of, like, testing it to make sure it works, and it all works, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. I did include quite a bit of flower beds, just because, the rest of the world is, despite being a kind of, I don't know, desert climate, I want to say, it is based off LA and everything. I did want to go with the rest of the world, and it is kind of lush. I mean, some of it does look kind of dead, and there's a lot of like cacti and things like that, but yeah, I don't know. I like the way it turned out. So here you can see I'm just kind of working on the floor plan. I didn't do anything too crazy in the bathroom, and I've been cutting out a lot of bathrooms and things like that lately, but because it's a tiny build and I don't know, the placement of that seems interesting, so I decided to keep it in. Went with a very blue color scheme too on the exterior and interior of this house, so I wasn't mad at it. There's a lot of different colors too. Basically, a lot of the I don't know. I don't really typically build in mid-century style that much, so I was having fun kind of playing around with a lot of the items that we got with Get Famous. I typically only think of the garish kind of like outlandish objects that I don't also use that much, but there's a lot of good mid-century objects that I probably will start using more often. Mainly these rugs that really surprised me because kind of going from CC, you kind of think that the rugs are trash in game, but not all of them are. So I also sized down a couple of the paintings on the side, and I think having the like little collage area looks nice. And that's another thing, that paneling wall, that's probably a little bit more 70s than it is mid-century, but who's really a stickler for that kind of thing, you know? Everybody has different styles in their house. So I put a lot of plants in here too. I don't know why, I just had that vibe. These are seasons curtains, which they're not detrimental to the build, so if you don't have them, it's not that big a deal. I was debating on not putting any curtains in this house, but I decided to go for it, give it that little more dated feeling. I also use that carpet, which is really ugly, but I thought it fit the style. Yeah, this is definitely not my own personal taste, but I kind of like building things that are my taste. So I did include a couple movie posters because when you load in, she is an actress, kind of like a starting actress, I think, or kind of like midway or whatever. I put like a lighted mirror in here and things like that. I was surprised that there wasn't any kind of benches or like settees or anything like that that came with any kind of mid-century items, because we've gotten mid-century items with a couple packs now, at least bowling stuff and Get Famous. And I think I use the Jungle Adventure appliances in this build too, so so that's kind of whatever, but yeah, it wasn't a crazy long build to do. It came together pretty quickly, and I am happy with how it turned out. I am working on a couple bigger builds, so expect those coming to the channel pretty soon. And I am also probably going to have another episode of my gardening rags to riches coming up tomorrow, hopefully. Don't hold me to it, but I hope everybody is feeling good, and I am pretty relaxed right now and getting ready to film a bunch of videos and just sim it out for a while. Yeah, so pretty happy with that. I have been doing a lot of CC lately with these builds, and I don't want to do all of my builds CC, but I probably will be utilizing it a lot. Which isn't horrible. I really liked it. There was a couple times, especially in the kitchen, that I wanted to use CC, and I was like, no, make it like accessible. And then when you go to upload it to the gallery, it forces you to put it because it like immediately flags the CC in it, even though if it's just a cutting board or something, which could easily be replaced, the game doesn't register it as that. So it's annoying like that. I did also include this table over here. I don't know why, it's just kind of filler. When I did that window in the corner, I was thinking of having a little dining room table over there, but I did want a bigger one. So, who doesn't need extra counter space? You can, if you obviously have pets, you can go ahead and, chuck a pet dish in there or something, or if you get a toddler, a high chair or anything. There are a couple of weird pauses in here. I do apologize. We were watching American Horror Story, and it was probably a gory part. But yeah, so just finishing up the touches on the outside. Doing the pool, I did include quite a large pool actually. I am glad that the pool doesn't contribute to your overall square footage, like for the tiny house thing. There is a lot of outdoor living space, and I really like it. I did include a bar here because when you load up the game, the only skills that she has is mixology and acting, and so I did want to include a bar somewhere in here, and I didn't think the house was big enough. So yeah, so there's that. Putting in a few lights, finishing touches. So with that, we are getting ready to go on the screenshots, and I hope everybody is having fun out there, staying sane, and staying safe. So yeah, I know it's not easy, but you gotta try. So with that, I will speak to everybody soon, and have a good one. Bye.